There she is. Okay, give me your 5 seconds.
All right. Yeah. I saw that. All right. Good morning, everyone. Or not morning. Oh my goodness, it's been a long day. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our evening meeting. So to get us started today, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask you to join me for a moment of silence before we do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, and next we will do the roll call.
Commissioner Jones? Here. Commissioner O'Connor? Present. Commissioner Lanier? Present. Commissioner Moody? Present. Commissioner Kelly?
Here.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes, and Commissioners, can I get a motion to excuse Commissioner Ruppert, who is out of the state?
So moved.
Support. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Carries. All right, so next it'll take us to our first opportunity for public comment. So if this is the first time you've come to our city commission meeting in the evening, I'm going to walk you. That wasn't me. I'm going to walk you through the agenda. So we have a couple opportunities for public comment tonight. The very first one on the agenda is if you are here to comment on something that we're actually voting on today. So earlier this morning, we had a number of what we call standing committee meetings, and during those meetings, we talked about issues and we voted on issues, and you'll see the full list in the agenda before you. So the first opportunity for public comment is just if you want to speak to something that we're voting on. A couple of rules about public comment. We ask that you come up here to this podium, that you share your name, the city that you live in for this first public comment period. I ask you to be really explicit about what item you're talking about. And then you'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak, and there's a little timer right here that you can keep an eye on, and our city clerk takes care of that for us. And then later on the agenda, if you're here to speak about something that we're not voting on, but just another issue that you've come to talk about tonight, that opportunity for public comment is at the end of the agenda. So we don't have any scheduled public hearings tonight, so just 2 opportunities for public comment. The beginning, if you want to talk about something we're voting on, at the end, about anything else that's on your mind. So with that, I'll open up the first opportunity for public comment, and again, this is on agenda items only, so you can come up here. Anyone here speaking on agenda items? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close that opportunity for public comment, and that's going to move us to, all right, Mr. Miller, but in the future, come up closer, or I'm going to move on. You look nice tonight, Mr. Miller.
You mean normally,
I like your jacket. You look nice.
you get votes for a living?
I'm just saying, I'm just complimenting you.
Okay. I thought I always looked pretty dapper, but I live in a high crime neighborhood, so my objective is to get through it,
All right,
last
3 minutes.
mile.
What items are you talking about tonight?
Because you don't have a
what
bus
agenda?
back
You got
there.
the agenda. You know how the rules work.
7.3, on murals, see an ugly mural going up in the street in the middle of the Veterans District, going back to, goodness, maybe 1870 Monument Square, and between Monument Square and a marvelous statue of Roger Shapley to face the street. And on Veterans Square, you still have no notice of World War II being up there. So it's a protest on, I'm not sure what murals means. I'm suspicious, however. 7.1, support. 7.5, 7.6, I thought was a good appointment. 8.1.2 and 8.1 and 2. Why is Sewer Mouth still on the payroll when Officer Vanderkoy should be on the payroll? He's a citizen hero. He may wind up with a statue someday. So in the Code of Yellow, you support Sewer Mouth. What he did out on your hearing out in Fuller in the public school up north. 9A1, slave ship Dutch DeLong. What are his protests as being one of the all-time great racists in City
Mr. Miller,
Hall?
please
Protest
do not call
that.
names. All right, Mr. Miller, I'm going to remind you, along with everyone else who is with us tonight, there's a couple other rules, and one of them is no derogatory comments.
That's a
no
new
name
rule,
calling.
ma'am.
Mr.
You just
Miller,
made it up to
you and
support
I
your
have talked
corrupt
about this
cronies.
before. You are
Your
not going to come
corrupt
here
racist
and
cronies.
make statements like that about people.
Well,
Stop
let's
it.
take the court. I'm in court. You
Mr.
sought
Miller,
you
what
sought
else?
a dismissal of court.
Mr. Miller, I'm going
Why-
to cut off your time. I'm going to end it if you don't get back to the item and stop
Well,
using
this is
derogatory
sexist
comments.
supremacist again. That's just off the wall, saying you can't say anything critical at
No,
a
you
public
can't name
meeting.
call. Mr. Miller, no name
9A1,
calling.
9B1 on your agenda. Why is B1 why is B1 2 years late? 2 years late. B2 is 1 year late. So if this is necessary, why wasn't this done 2 years? Addressed two years ago. I can't say understand it. See, 410 grand is a lot of bucks for something called Outdoor Foundation. Giving it away. Couldn't that money be better spent in the third ward? 9B, let's see, 9C2, Downtown Improvement District. I brought that up, the facing of street, I think it's the Grab Street in the middle of the Veterans District.
All right, Mr. Miller, your time's up. Time's up. So I'll remind everyone, on the front of the agenda, there are expectations for this meeting, and so I just want to make sure I draw your attention to them. And under item number 4, we do ask you to not swear and not name call or use derogatory comments. All right, so we'll next move to approval of the minutes, and this is from our last meeting on June 11th. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
All right, commissioners, any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. Next, that will take us to petitions and communications.
The first one is a communication received from David Covey regarding the resignation from the Mobile GR Commission.
That's referred to Committee on Appointments.
Communication received from Georgia Farr regarding their resignation from the Housing Appeals Board.
That's referred to Committee on Appointments.
Communication received from Dean DeLoof regarding murals in the city of Grand Rapids.
That's received and filed.
Communication received from Angela Kaku regarding their resignation from the Community Relations Commission.
That's referred to Committee on Appointments.
Communication received from Gerard Ackerheis and Mark Post regarding climate crisis.
That's received and filed.
And communication received from Brittany Williams regarding their resignation from the Southtown Corridor Improvement Authority.
And that's also referred to Committee on Appointments. All right, next that will take us to reports of city officers, and we have 3 items before us tonight.
Comptroller's report for the period of May 30, 2019 through June 26, 2019, in the amount of $45,942,779.50.
That's received and filed.
Treasurer's report for the period of May 29, 2019 through June 21, 2019.
That's received and filed.
And the city clerk submitted 3 reports from the Election Commission appointing election precinct inspectors, designated receiving team members, and designated absentee voter counting board members for the August 6, 2019 primary election.
And that is also received and filed. All right, next that will take us to our consent agenda. So our consent agenda are items that we talked about earlier in one of our standing committee meetings and where the vote was unanimous. So tonight with one voice vote, we'll adopt those items. So commissioners, can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
Support.
All right, any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, commissioners, we have one item that is removed from consent. Why is this removed from consent? Oh, that's right, sorry. So one item that's removed from consent is a resolution accepting the assignment of the right and title and a promissory note in an original face amount of $70,000 from the Kent County Land Bank Authority for property that's located at 303 Donald Place.
So moved.
Support.
All right, Commissioner Jones, you can refresh my memory because it took me a minute to remember why this is off consent. So
Not a
go ahead.
problem, Mayor. The promissory note that's mentioned, it secures a second mortgage. It was issued to the Kent County Land Bank Authority in connection with the sale of an attached single-family home and acted to provide a subsidy to a buyer earning below 100% of area median income.
All right, thank you. And it's off consent because we had a split vote this morning. So Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's been a very long day, obviously. All right, so we have 5 yeas, 1 nay. It passes. Thank you. All right, next we have 2 ordinances to be adopted tonight. We'll start with the first one. This is an ordinance repealing Chapter 102 called Dance Hall of Title 7 of the Grand Rapids City Code and adopting a new chapter called Indoor Events. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Support.
All right, Commissioner Moody, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, Madam Mayor. After an initial review process, a work group comprised of the city staff from the clerk's office, attorney's office, code compliance, building inspection, planning, and fire department was established to review an existing dance hall and motion picture theater ordinances. The intent of these ordinances were to preserve the health and safety and welfare of people gathered at indoor events. Due to the similarity in intent, it is being proposed that they be combined into one comprehensive indoor events ordinance. Under the proposed ordinance, all facilities, businesses hosting events open to the general public will be required to obtain an indoor event license. This requires that each facility be inspected on a yearly basis by the fire department to ensure continued compliances with safety regulations.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, any questions? All right, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor, Mayor Bliss.
Yes. It passes. All right, Commissioners, that will take us to our second ordinance tonight. This is an ordinance amending Section 10.69 of Chapter 181 of Title 10 of the Code of the City of Grand Rapids entitled Traffic to authorize volunteer officers to enforce additional parking violations. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, Commissioner Kelly, you want to tell us about this?
Yes, this is really an expansion of a volunteer program that we've had at the police department for several years. So state law authorizes our municipal police departments to engage volunteers to write parking tickets. And upon completion of training to do that, they will be able to support the department. So they'll be able to write parking tickets for a variety of parking violations, including parking in a handicap zone, for example, within a crosswalk, or in a no parking zone, or within 15 feet of a fire hydrant, just to name a few. So this is going to offer some additional support for our department.
Great, thanks, Commissioner. Commissioners, any questions about this? I think it's actually been a couple of decades we've been doing this program.
19 years, I think. the
Yeah,
chief said.
19. All right, so with that, this is a roll call vote tonight.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor, Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, Commissioners, next that will take us to resolutions to be adopted. We have one item that was added, so I will need a motion to suspend the rules. Can I get?
Close.
Support.
All right, all in favor of suspending the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. The rules are now suspended. And the resolution before us is a resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement with the Grand Rapids Police Command Officers Association.
So moves.
Support.
All right, Commissioner O'Connor, you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, the Grand Rapids Police Command Officers Association has advised the city's bargaining team that their membership has ratified the proposed collective bargaining agreement covering the period of July 1, 2019 through June 30, 2022.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments? This is one of many, 13, I believe, that we're currently working on. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, and Commissioners, we have no scheduled public hearings tonight, so that will take us to public comments. So we'll open up this opportunity for public comment. A couple rules remain. One, we ask you to share your name, the city that you live in. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Again, we ask you to come right up here, and I'm going to ask you to really respect the rules of this space to make sure that everyone feels comfortable speaking their mind. All right, and we'll get started tonight. Go ahead. And you can come up here and stand if you'd like, and make a line up here. Oh, and I should also say, if you could write your name and the city, just your name and the city, both, on the clipboard over there. And just to let you know, the only reason that we do that is to make sure that in the minutes we have your name spelled correctly. So, good evening, Mr. Davis.
Good evening to the City Commission and the Mayor. I'm going to leave my normal agenda of cleaning up the city tonight because there's something much, much more important. The weekend of this past weekend, 4th of July weekend for the fireworks and everything, there was massive chaos in the city. I want to commend the police department and the fire department for the work that they did working with the shootings and the fight. And I'm very unhappy with the decision to follow this organization that supposedly recommended what we do with the police department. I know the place that I live, there's a lot of problems there, and sometimes it takes the police a sizable amount of time to report, to check on the complaint. And I don't like this either. But I was walking from the Ford Museum back to my apartment. I was crossing 6th Street about the time of that shooting there. And it's made me very apprehensive of what's going on. This company that recommended that the city hire more paper pushers and less police officers, I think that they were overeducated idiots. They don't know what's going on in the city of Grand Rapids. Excuse me for the comment.
All right, careful about name calling, Mr. Davis.
I didn't call anybody
I know.
by name. Kind of on the edge. But anyway, I would like to see more police officers hired by the city of Grand Rapids. And I'd like to see this company that made these recommendations refund the money that the city spent because they were completely in error. And we need more police officers on our police force for quicker responses. And we have a real problem with apparently a new element of gang groups moving into the city of Grand Rapids. And this is a conflict between the existing gangs and the new people are coming in. And we have to look into that, and we have to figure out a way to stop these people from coming into our city and stop this gang conflict and stuff like that. Some of this goes back to the parents. Some of it is part of our city obligation to make sure that these people are not coming here. And it's making our city a lot like Chicago or Detroit. And it's a serious issue that we're going to have to address, and address it very sternly. I hope that the City Commission will follow this. As you notice, I tried to put up a little poster here, support our police and fire department. They're both very good organizations, and for the most part, there's always a chance for some things that people disagree with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Oh, are you okay?
I'm all right.
Okay. Hi,
Hi there.
welcome.
How are you doing? You already started, I haven't even said my name.
Oh, we'll restart it.
Would you please?
Yep. Okay, you got it, Joel?
Giancarlo Vanna. I want to start by saying that I don't know any of you.
Pardon?
And I don't know any of you. And I think basically as a person, an individual, you're probably nice people. But as administrator, I think you leave a lot to be desired. Okay? That's why I called for your resignations. Now, before we get there, and before I explain why, I'm thinking that I want to show you this article came in March. $648 for potholes. It just so happened that a week later, and I don't want to discuss too much about my traveling, but a week later I left for Europe. When I got to Venice, I rented a vehicle, drove all the way to the Dolomites, into Austria, back into Milan, did almost 1,000 miles. And would you be surprised if I told you that I didn't see one single pothole, one single patch, no one single crack on the road? What's going on here? What kind of inspectors do we have that is costing us millions and millions of dollars for our roads every single year? And they are pitiful, if nothing else. What kind of administrations do we have here? How do you safeguard our money? You were voted in to safeguard us, not your interest. So now I'm getting back to why I think incidentally, they do use chains over there, and the weather is colder than here and hotter than here. So I don't know what they're using on the road there, but I find it very, very disturbing to see what's going on in our city. You wasted $40 million of our money to build a bus line that doesn't go anyplace. Okay? You now have elected to vote another $1 million in funding to study the study that didn't study in the first place. So where are we going with all of this? On my building, I have 16 different type of taxes. 16. And let me see, maybe I still have it here. 16 different type of taxes. And you know what is more frustrating than anything else? You have a light item administration fee. You want also to collect. Just, I love it. How many? We have 47 different type of taxes in Michigan, 98 in the nation. You increased the budget when you were told not to. How much do you think it's costing each family in Grand Rapids? How much do you think it's costing each family to support the city? You don't have any idea, do you? Let me tell you, $7,566 a year. How about the state? $14,565. How about the federal? $37,770.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Your time's up.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
We know that 3 minutes is nothing but a
Yeah,
farce.
thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Your time's
Yeah.
up. Appreciate it.
I will be
You-
back.
you
The next
are
time I'll
welcome to
have
come
10
back.
people, give me 10
Yes, sir.
minutes, 3
Thank
minutes
you.
each, so I'll have 30
Sir, there's
minutes to
other
talk.
people behind you who want to
Thank
be
you.
heard. Hi, welcome.
Hello, I'm Tabitha Williams in the 1100 block of Jefferson. Good evening, Mayor Bliss, City Manager, and Commissioners. We are Parents for Healthy Homes, a grassroots organization of parents, grandparents, and concerned neighbors who have been advocating to end childhood lead poisoning since 2016. We believe that all children deserve to grow up in healthy homes free of environmental hazards. We are here today because we live in a time where for too many years, the 49507 zip code has led the state in the number of lead-poisoned children, even more than the entire city of Flint. Children of color are disproportionately lead poisoned. Rental properties have significantly higher rate of poisoning children, and families coming out of homelessness are forced to live in an unsafe housing in order to afford rent. Lead paint dust and lead-contaminated soil are the biggest sources of lead poisoning in King County. Children exposed to lead face a lifetime of potential effects, brain damage, and loss of IQ, decision-making skills, and talent. It doesn't take much dust to make a home hazardous. It takes this much dust, lead paint dust, to contaminate an entire home. Right now, our housing code only requires a visual inspection for lead in rental homes. This means the home with peeling or chipping paint and bare soil near foundation are supposed to be cited, as well as fail to receive a certificate of occupancy until they are cleared. It is important to know that lead is ingested from dust and soil on our windowsills and floors. We do not currently test for these invisible hazards that are to blame for our child lead poisoning. Parents like Chantel Farrell, who cannot be here tonight, know this all too well. She discovered her home was unsafe when her 2-year-old was tested positive for lead in the blood. She was confused about how this happened. Just months earlier, the city had inspected and provided a certificate of occupancy to her landlord. After Healthy Homes Coalition tested the dust in her windowsills and front porch, she discovered that her home needed repairs beyond what she could do as a tenant. She used special cleaning practices to contain the dust, but her home ultimately needed new windows and paint. She said, "I felt bad. I couldn't let my kids play on the steps. I couldn't let my kids be kids. I was always moving them, trying to keep them from being lead poisoned." When she asked her landlord to consider a free remediation program through Medicaid, they refused and attempted to evict her family. She fought the eviction in court, but shortly afterwards, the landlord sold the property to a family member. This change in ownership provided a loophole for her landlord to legally break Chantel's lease. With 30 days to find a new place, a small child recovering from lead poisoning, and a small business to run, Chantel was lucky enough to find somewhere else to live.
Thank you, Miss Williams.
Thank you.
If you have something in writing, you're welcome to leave it with us.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Samika Douglas, and I'm coming from the 3rd Ward. I'm also a parent for Parents with Healthy Home. And to continue the story of Chantel, although the landlord told Chantel that the property was going off the market for a long period of renovation, she heard from a next-door neighbor that 4 college students moved in immediately. If our housing codes went beyond its current visual inspection and included the testing of household dust, Chantel's daughter would not have needed to serve as a lead detector. The family would not be displaced. Her home would not have been tested during a routine inspection. The hazards would have been identified and fixed before her daughters ever tested positive. You can see in the photos that were presented to you this evening, the home hazards cannot be seen with the naked eye. When tested with dust white samples and sent to a lab, her front porch alone tested 8 times the amount lead accepted by the EPA. Her window sill tested 1,300 times the amount of lead accepted by the EPA. Stories like Chantel do not have to be the reality families face. Our nation has a heightened awareness of lead poisoning right now, and we know that the best practice to remediate homes and reduce hazards. And there are cities like Rochester, New York, that have gone before us and successfully fixed their housing codes without significantly impacting their housing market. The problem of childhood lead poisoning is preventable, solvable, and morally unacceptable. Mayor Bliss recognized this and started the Lead-Free Kids Grand Rapids Advisory Committee in August of 2018, which she then came to us and asked 2 of our parents to sit on that board. After a year of study and discussion, on June 25th, this committee was heard from the nationally healthy house expert, David Jacobs, and how the city can improve their housing code to ensure rental units are lead safe. Mr. Jacobs presented a detailed report full of recommendations for policy changes as well as staffing and training requirements needed to protect our children. We were disappointed to hear that Mayor Bliss, Commissioner Lanier, as well as City Manager Mark Washington was all missing from this meeting when this report was presented. Commissioner Rappaport was the only person before us who attended. So we thought that today we would share some of those recommendations with you in full. He presented 3 options for new language in our housing codes that will all require recommendations of identify hazard and clearance testing to make sure remediation is done correctly. Option 1 requires testing of deteriorated paint to determine if it is a hazard, whether either an XRF machine can scan paint on site and send paint chip samples to a lab for testing. Option 2 requires dust testing even when paint looks fine. This is the model Rochester's used. Option 3 requires lead risk assessment for all older properties to determine where all hazards are and how dangerous each hazard in the area is.
Thank you, Ms. Douglas. Thanks. Hi, welcome.
Hi, my name is Alex Markham. I'm a resident of Grand Rapids. I am also one of the parents on Parents for Healthy Homes. And some of the benefits that Dave outlined included limiting unexpected housing, he included limiting unexpected housing repairs and avoidable litigation for landlords, stopping the shift of costs of lead poisoning to our medical, educational, and criminal justice institutions. For every $1 that we invest in this, we get $1.39 back. Establishing a high standard for Grand Rapids' housing market, ensuring that affordable housing meets the same minimum but safe standard as other housing. We have the tools we need to begin an honest and brutal assessment of our housing code to identify its weaknesses and its gaps. We have what we need to act and raise our community standards in Grand Rapids. We have a number of programs and policies in place that serve as a foundation on which we can improve the quality of our rental housing. Right now, we have organized parent expertise from Parents for Healthy Homes, you'll see them behind me, an advisory committee with representatives from Legal Aid, the NAACP, Grand Rapids Public Schools, Grand Rapids African American Health Institute, healthcare professionals, Kent County Health Department, and the City of Grand Rapids. Access to the nation's leaders in code improvement through our partnership with Dave Jacobs from the National Center for Healthy Housing, a rental certification program that already sends housing inspectors to every rental unit in Grand Rapids on 2, 4, and 6-year cycles, growing enforcement capacity at the county level to enforce housing standards after a child is poisoned, city and state resources to abate low-income homes where housing or hazards have been found and children reside, a $50,000 grant to provide education to residents about lead hazards in the 3rd Ward. We have everything we need except for your action. It is time to fix our housing code to include the testing of lead dust hazards. We hope swift action on this urgent problem because the longer we wait to solve it, the more children are lead poisoned and the more we rob from our future. Thank you.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, my name is Sarah Edgington, and I'm with Parents for Healthy Homes. I live off of Edna Street in Grand Rapids, and I just want to take the time to say thank you to the city commissioners tonight and for listening to us and for hearing our call. And we ask you again to please take action. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others who wish to be heard?
Hello, my name is Josh Duggan. I live in Midtown. And tonight I'm here on behalf of the Greater Grand Rapids Bicycle Coalition. Earlier this morning, I guess it was, at the Committee of the Whole, you had a chance to hear about the draft or the final bicycle action plan that will be coming for your approval. And I wanted to come and ask you for your support of that plan and to adopt and then to work with city staff to implement the recommendations. I also wanted to recognize Kristen Bennett at Mobile GR, who did a lion's share of the work developing the plan. She's put in a lot of hours and a lot of time and is very passionate about the work that she's doing, and we're very lucky to have her. I also wanted to thank Suzanne Schultz, who is been with the city a long time. She is leaving now and really has been instrumental since I started this work in around 2009 through the Green Grand Rapids planning process that she spearheaded, and having support of the dedicated staff like her has been critical to the improvements that we've seen over this past decade. I also wanted to express support for the focus on low stress routes and bicycle, and so that people can bicycle safely to work, parks, shopping, and entertainment. Those low stress routes are really going to be the key toward getting more people out and offering bicycling as a means for transportation. A lot of people either can't afford or they have a physical impairment that doesn't allow them to drive a car, and a bicycle can really provide that opportunity that they can still get to work, can still do a lot of those trips that we sometimes take for granted. So I guess that's all I had, other than I wanted to say this past Saturday I had the opportunity to do a 100-mile bicycle ride throughout the, all within the city limits. And it's really great to see all the work that's been done so far toward providing facilities. You kind of see it all in one day, and it really kind of sinks in how far we've come. So I appreciate that, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Josh. All right, others who wish to be heard? Hi.
My name's Annie Vandenberg. I'm a Grand Rapids resident. I live in the 2nd Ward. And I am here representing myself as a mom and as a Grand Rapids resident, and as a mom of Grand Rapids residents, but also as a member of Moms Demand Action. Moms Demand Action gained a lot of attention and was started after the Sandy Hook shooting. And a lot of times I think those mass shootings get a lot of attention, but I think what more people need to be concerned about, and what I'm more concerned about, are things that happen every day around Grand Rapids and around the entire country. Just while I was in line here thinking about things that have happened in my life, I live in a lovely neighborhood. The 2nd Ward is wonderful. And just in the last few minutes, I was sort of writing down things that have affected me. We were 2 blocks away from where Officer Kosminski was shot. My son's classmate at North Park Montessori was murdered as a 10-year-old in the shooting spree that happened several summers ago. In a rental home that my husband and I rented out to someone else, one of our renters shot his cousin in the face with an unsecured gun. A store clerk down the street from us at Bottlenecks was shot in the face last summer. A woman was shot in her car several blocks away from my house. And just 2 days ago, a neighbor had a bullet come through, on the 4th, had a bullet come through their front porch and lodge into their couch, possibly from celebratory gunfire. So, as many other Grand Rapids residents are very concerned and aware of all the violence that's been going on lately, there's a lot of blame going around with police officers and city leaders and parents, but I think what we're forgetting to talk about is that the common denominator here is guns in the hands of people who should not have them, and that's something that whatever side you're on can be agreed that that is not something that's safe for the constituents of Grand Rapids. As a Grand Rapids resident, I would like to know more information about the guns that are used in these shootings, who they were originally purchased by. At some point, all of these guns were purchased legally. Whether or not they were used by that person to commit those crimes is something that I'm very concerned about. I would like to talk more with the community about safe storage laws and red flag laws, because almost all of the events that I spoke about just in my own life in the last few years could have been prevented by a gun being stored properly where someone could not get a hold of it, or someone who has made threats in the past not getting a hold of that gun. I would like to say that we're having just a community conversation on gun violence on July 22nd at 7 p.m. at Plymouth UCC, and I encourage and invite everyone who's concerned about this issue to join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, welcome.
My name is Teresa Phillips, and as a parent and a grandparent of the 49507 zip code, I'm asking you to stand with and support the Parents for Healthy Homes, because children are our future, and it's leading, we don't know what lead poisoning is how it's going to affect each child. Each child is different. And over the weekend, with all the violence that happened downtown with the young people, they could be subject to all the lead poisoning. We don't know, because after the age of 5, nobody gets tested. So the homes have to be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Phillips. All right, others wish to be heard?
Hello, I'm DeAndre Jones, stay in Grand Rapids. First of all, I gotta say it's my birthday tomorrow, so anybody want to wish me a happy early birthday? Thank you. Thank you. But I just attended the economic development meeting. I actually heard Mayor Bliss say it earlier, and I know that Grand Rapids is, I think, the second and worst for African Americans in economic development according to Forbes. I say that because my passion is to be on Forbes 30 for 30, but I like to be able to create a business or work through a business that actually can help the economic development to move Grand Rapids up the charts. I believe I can do it. Regardless what anybody says or whoever laughs at that, I truly believe I can help bring the diversity and inclusion here in Grand Rapids. I was wanted to go to studio school. A dream that I always really had was to be an actor or a film artist, and I actually got invited from a studio school in the heart of Los Angeles downtown to go do that. But I was like, no, I've been working on some projects here, and I'm really passionate about really trying to build Grand Rapids up and try to show the city in a positive light. And so to hear the guy earlier from the early city commission meeting from John Ball, as president of basketball operations for the Urban Youth Summer Basketball League, we're actually looking to host that tournament outside at MLK Park. And so I was talking to the guy from John Ball, and I was kind of like, hey, how could we partner together and try to make the city a little bit more greener, possibly bring some money to the city of Grand Rapids. So I attended the 5 Sister Cities meeting a couple weeks ago, I believe it was, and Mr. Washington was there. And I actually got to talk to the sister cities about how could I possibly work with you guys to possibly expand this basketball tournament to other countries to show kids it's more to the world than trying to shoot each other and actually build something that can actually make a difference. President Barack Obama is working with Adam Silver, who's the NBA commissioner, and he's actually building a basketball league in Africa. So I know how sports inspire people, and I dream big. I don't really try to limit myself to thinking, but hopefully I can work with the sister cities and possibly expand this league to other countries and try to economically develop those countries, because I know it's a lot of underdeveloped cities and countries. And so hopefully having Grand Rapids as the headquarters, I can actually be able to be an operator that actually helps the city develop more money and be able to pour that money into things that actually matter, like equal housing for people of color. I'm not saying it isn't, but that's just the vision that I see, and I'll continuously work on it. I know that meeting is on the third Wednesday, so I'll definitely be down there with a proposal, something that I'll put together very well, and hopefully be able to make that difference and be the change that I want to see in the world. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and happy birthday. Thanks. Can't open this? Okay, all right. Not used to people handing me packages.
It won't explode.
Okay, thank you.
Well, not without effort. Good evening, Robert Metzger. I'm actually from East Grand Rapids, and I'm here regarding my property at 312 Prospect Avenue Northeast. You can hold off on the handout for a moment. The last time that I actually attempted to talk to this commission with what would be considered my issues was February 26th, interestingly enough, my birthday. I know I had some comments on the 5G, but I felt that was necessary at the time just because there's a whole lot of misinformation that floats around on such matters. But tonight I'm here in regards to the way of irony. The 26th, not the first time that I've had my comments, mute, because I wasn't able to give them. I think actually regarding timer, I think the commission owes me 6 minutes still as a minimum. I hope to collect at some point, maybe not tonight. But the reason I was not able to finish on the 26th, that there was an issue with the gentleman and a group that decided to shut down the commission meeting on what was a person who had a PTSD episode and maybe a poor response on the part of GRPD, but I'm pretty familiar with those myself. And they thought it was hilarious afterwards that they were able to shut down the meeting, and they laughed at me that I was not allowed to speak. You'll have to understand that up to that time, I've been playing by the rules. I've been coming, sitting through this meeting, listening to comments repetitive ad nauseum on rather mundane subjects, and I actually have something to speak about. And what most people don't know that night, and the irony involved, is that I, too, suffer from PTSD. And I had an episode that night, and that's why you haven't seen me back in a while, because unfortunately coming to this body and dealing with the matters with the city triggers me. I have very unique triggers, acknowledge that. It has to do with I'm lied to, or when people don't do what they agreed to do or are obligated to do. So the irony of that night is they all look at me like somehow I get some special privilege in the city, and the document in front of you will show that not only have I not received any special privilege, if you take every person in that room that night and any grievance they have in the city, and 10 people that they know, and add them all up, and make a monetary designation to that, it still doesn't hold a candle with what the city has cost me over the last 26 years. And I'm talking 7 figures. And in front of you is at least half of that. And it could have been prevented. When you read through, the process didn't work. The city didn't provide the enforcement. And another irony, after reaching some frustration in regards to 350 Michigan, the Rite Aid drugstore and the Red Geranium restaurant, having met with resistance from multiple city departments, I finally had enough that I wrote my then commissioner in 2005, a new commissioner. I put a nice letter together with pictures denoting the issues that I thought they could actually address at that point. And that commissioner wrote me back with a handwritten thank you note thanking me for those issues, and they were going to get them to the right departments and that I should hear from someone. 17 months later, I sent that handwritten card back to that commissioner and said, thank you for nothing. I've heard from no one regarding anything. At least I heard from 2 departments from that point. And then we went on to actually address just one single issue, because it seemed to be, at that point, I thought it wouldn't do much good to try to fix all of them, because maybe we can just focus on one and something can happen. So I had to involve that commissioner again in 2011 and 2013. And that irony is that commissioner is now Mayor Bliss. And the issues I'm still dealing with. and never had to. And the issue that I consulted the commissioner on at that time, believe it or not, was two beautiful, historic walnut trees out in front of my property that were killed by the city. Repeat, killed by the city. 10 years to cut it down, 5 years to get the frickin' stumps out. And all goes back to enforcement. I realize where our time is at. The letter in front of you is a demand letter for Spectrum to enforce those zoning issues that should have been resolved back then, somehow didn't make it through. If someone, Mr. Kane or Mr. Washington, the organization, whoever is going to be doing the oversight on that, if you could please make sure it wasn't the person who got the payoffs the first time around. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Others wish to be heard?
Don't thank me, please, anymore. It's
Okay. All right, I
patronizing and
won't.
insulting. If there's
Thank
not going
you
to be
then.
some actions.
Okay, and your
Thank
time's
you.
up.
Well, I'm Martha Cooper, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Several things, and I only have 3 minutes. It's always so hard. I appreciate that. What I'd like to suggest is that if a person has hit their 3-minute mark, that they at least are able to finish their sentence. I think that's respectful of people showing up. I'm here to register some disappointment about what I'm seeing over the time that I have been coming, which has been on the regular. I also want to make a couple of comments about someone who I mentioned had a rent raised that was an activist for housing. And I want to say for myself and for her that we're very vulnerable, and we know how vulnerable we really are. We know about rents getting raised on our friends, $300 and $200, and that's with a HUD certificate. I know that I've lost friends to suicide and depression in a motel because they can't afford to live. I think about old people. They used to be able to have a $500 apartment, and now one SSI check doesn't even cover a motel. Just because the people got kicked out of the motel, we had no place for them to go, and I don't know how that happened, but it's only for a year, and nothing has gone in. At this point, I'm starting to really recognize that this is about will, because there's lots of money in this town. And you guys actually have power enough to make some things happen when it comes to putting some community benefits towards affordable housing. I think the Affordable Housing Fund is a joke. I don't know what's in it, and you've never worked on filling it. You have no purpose for it except for it to sit there and look like you're doing something when you're not. I understand there's a housing forum coming up on Thursday at the library at 6 o'clock. I also know that some people aren't going to be there. John O'Connor, you were in charge of the Housing Now proposals, the zoning proposals. It didn't create any, and there's no housing coming later. And I find it just amazing that you won't even show up to be held to account with people that have more than 3 minutes. Then I'll move on. Mayor Bliss, I know that Hillary Clinton lost an election to some fool, okay? So don't think that if you're not offering people something to vote for, that they'll show up and vote, and that's how she lost. The other thing is, Mark Washington, the community benefits, we're gonna see how much you take community input seriously. If it makes uncomfortable situations like lawsuits for the city, then that is what happens as a consequence of the city decisions to keep behaving the way they were, and those things came out of that. Our new police chief should not be somebody that tells parents what to do if you care about community
Thank you, Martha.
improvement.
All right, others wish to be heard? Hi, welcome.
Hello, thank you. My name is Ginny Whitty, and I'm here as a resident. I live in the city of Grand Rapids. And I noticed on the Grand Rapids website that it's noted that Grand Rapids wants to promote the health and well-being of its residents. So I am increasingly concerned about the health due to the 5G rollout. So we know that this is mandated from the federal level on down, is already being implemented. My background all the way through doctorate level is on children, their development, brain development, health, learning. And so I'm intimately knowledgeable and of their needs and the problems that they have today. So I began research, and honestly, there are thousands of research articles on the topic of EMFs. Very little on 5G because it's new, but there is growing concern on the effects of EMFs in people. So I became concerned for several reasons. One was the fact that researchers and scientists and engineers and doctors around the world are cautioning against the implementation of 5G. These are people who understand 5G and study it. And upon investigating the research articles, it's noted that industry research is showing an effect on 30% of their publications are showing problems with health. When we go to independent research, it jumps to 68 to 70% of the research is showing effects on individuals' health. When we look a little further, it's noted that 30% of the population is experiencing mild to moderate effects of EMFs, while 3.5% to 7% of the people, which is quite a few, are experiencing serious health effects, and so serious that they cannot work or live in environments where they're surrounded by EMFs. So I further became interested because NASA is also concerned. So with the auctioning off of airwaves, NASA is concerned it's going to interfere with their work, which is our national defense, as is the Navy and the weather forecasting. So we also have energy problems that are associated with the technology. It takes a great deal of energy to produce any kind of technology and internet. And this is the Internet of Things, making virtually everything that we own is going to be connected to Wi-Fi. And we already have a problem with climate change, and we're not addressing that with addressing 5E and implementing it. So I come here tonight knowing that the city has very little control over this, but asking that somehow can the city help us form a committee or some way find ways to help protect, include safety, procedures, policies, something to help the citizens and the residents of the city.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Whitty.
Hi, my name is Lalita Matthews, but they call me Lisa, and I'm a Parents for Healthy Home. I'm also a grandmother of a child that was poisoned with lead poison. And I got involved with Parents for Healthy Home because I want to do something about it. I don't want to just sit there. And I come to you guys and ask you, will you please consider helping us? Because, you know, our kids is going to be the ones who's sitting up there. You never know what kid going to be up there sitting right there. And we need to do something about it. People think this is a small problem, but it's a very big problem. And we keep fighting and fighting, and we keep hearing we're going to do something about it, but it be like months down. I know it takes time to do something about it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, what are we going to do now? You know, I watch my grandchild. He stutters. He can't, his learning ability is not there where he don't even know how to count to 5, and I sit there and he can't stay on point. You know, my child is suffering. I have custody of him, and I watch him all the time. This is very important and very serious to me, because if it was one of your kids, you'll be up here just like me and fighting every way to get help for other children not to be poisoned by lead. So I just thank you for listening to our comments, and I'm getting emotional now, so I gotta stop. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews.
Real quick, I'm not stealing another 3 minutes, I promise. I did not explain the package.
Oh, that's
I
okay.
forgot.
Why don't you talk to me afterwards so that we can get to other people?
All right.
Good evening, and I'm back again, okay? I've tried, I don't know how many times I've been down to the City Hall trying to meet, but you're always in a meeting, and so I just decided to come down here right and get you all at once again. I'm still interested in a classification for a home where the owner owns the home and allows people to live there free and not collect rent. I think there should be a classification for that. And I know that I was here a few months ago and you were going to look into it. I have another question though this time too. I've been in this home Well, I have two homes right next to each other. I've been there for about 58 years, and I'm at the age now where I want to give my home to my nephew. Now, if I give my home to my nephew, he's going to be the owner. And so legally now, the home is not going to be owner occupied. And he's willing to let me stay there for free until I die. And so I'm just wondering, what would how would that situation work out? I mean, here I am, like I said, I had the two homes right next to each other. The other home I'm concerned about, that's the one that I have people staying for free. I have a home in Granville where people have been free for there since 2013. I just think somebody ought to recognize the fact that we're not all out looking for the buck, and we're trying to do what's right, but there should be a classification of some kind for that. I've had parents tell me they have children that they'd like to have in some of their homes, but then the city says, no, it's a rental home. And as you know, with a rental home, they come in and they tell you, you have to have so many plugs here and so much here and so much there. Now, the home I am in has one plug in some of the rooms, and it served us for 58 years, and it served the people who were there before us, too. We don't need all these kinds of things. And so, again, I'm just saying, can we get a classification for something or make some kind of arrangement for that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, it's me again. I just wanted to show you, my 3 minutes go so fast, it's incredible. Robert Kosminski, 12 years yesterday. He was killed, I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay.
12 years, he's been dead, killed in the line of duty, on a domestic. He went to save lives, killed himself. I would think that you might honor him somehow. Did anybody call his family? Did anybody reach out? I know the answer to that. The value of law enforcement, I don't understand it. I come up here so many times. I mean, PTSD, do you know what that is? Do you know that it affects our law enforcement? Do you know that there was more deaths by suicide than killed in the line of duty in the nation? Do you know what I do? I couple those together, and that's the amount of police officers who have been killed. Take them both. They're all heroes, even the ones that come into suicide because of the jobs they have to go out and do. I'm glad I've got other members of the Voice for the Badge here to speak tonight, because this is pathetic. It's pathetic. We need more police officers. What is so hard about this? What is so hard about this? Why do you not react to this? Commissioner O'Connor, you're excluded from this. You support law enforcement. God bless you for doing that. I'm behind you all the way in your reelection. We're going to get the factual information out, and we're going to get out to the city, the residents. We are going to do this, and it's going to have impact. Because we're going to show the response times. We're going to show the shortage of officers. We're going to show the service areas. How about doing 3 ride-alongs, third shift, high crime districts? Anybody interested? You'll see a whole lot if you do it, a whole lot. I would advise that, because you need to know the dangers of this job and what they have to go through. And Mayor, you don't support them. What is your problem with law enforcement? I mean, they'd save your life and give up their own. Is that so hard to understand? They're in a special class of city employees, I'll tell you that right now. And City Manager Washington, I still have hope. But to trim the budget by $30 million is wonderful. Come in, oh great, he's already working on the budget. 2 police officers, and the fact that you didn't know that the civilian police advocates, that they weren't included in the amount of officers who were down, that disappointed me very much. We need police officers. I don't know what else to tell you about it, but the Voice for the Badge is going to get the message out, and we're going to get out strong. It's going to be to the point where the citizens of Grand Rapids, black and white, Hispanic, all want to be protected. You blame our police. Holy gosh almighty, I don't get it. I mean, I go home at night and I might start drinking. I mean, really, it's the only way. I mean, I just can't believe it. Do you see TV? Do you see the officer that he wasn't even on the force yet in another state that was killed in the line of duty? A young, adorable officer with a family, parents. It's disgusting. I could keep talking, but I will respect the fact that I can't. You always cut me off. You better figure it out. You better figure it out. And if we ever lose a police officer in Grand Rapids, Michigan, you bear responsibility.
Your time's up, Mr. Brand.
I know it's up.
Okay.
And you ought to think about it. I know, but you sit me down, you let the guy go
Your
for 3
time
minutes.
is up.
Do a better job with our police force.
Time's
I'll
up.
be glad when you're out on term limits. Nobody's running against
Okay,
you. So
thank
will.
you. Hi, welcome.
Good afternoon, or good night. I'm Viola Stevens. I am from Grand Rapids. Excuse me, I am nervous about when I'm up here, but to be honest, when I was preparing for tonight, I didn't even know where to begin. Our city has been riddled with shootings, brawls with hundreds of youth, social media posts in outrage against our police because a 12-year-old was assaulting another individual and resisted arrest and was handcuffed. Pastors and community leaders speaking against our police. Meetings where we claim to want to bring resolution, yet do nothing but complain and murmur about disparities and inequities and placing blame on those who don't look like us. To talking with my son's high school football coach yesterday, who told me that 62 out of 123 boys that signed up to play football are ineligible because of poor grades. 62 is an astounding number of young males who can't keep their grades up. This is not about color. This is about culture. One thing I know for sure, there is a crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a community that is spinning out of control. If you want an excuse, you will find an excuse. We can blame anything and anyone we want, but it starts with us. It starts in the home. We can't have community leaders or pastors speaking against our police and sending the wrong message to our young people that the police are against them because of the color of their skin. We need to drown out the voices that bring division and discord, and we need to partner with voices that truly want to bring unity and find resolution. We are ineffective when we complain and murmur and place blame on everyone else but us. Instead of pastors praying about inequities and disparities, we need pastors who will pray for a wave of unity to sweep across this city, pray for a move of God on our youth, and pastors that will pray for healing between our community and the police. My pastor preached a tremendous message on Sunday, and his title was timely and key to what is happening in our city. The title was Victory Lies in Unity. We can do nothing on our own, but together we can conquer any enemy. The community needs the police, and the police need the community. No matter our color, our language, we come together in unity, and we can do great things, and we can do the impossible. I'm going to leave you with this. It was said on April 12, 1831, British soldiers marching across a suspension bridge in cadence, which means in rhythm, in time, in unison. Their synchronized footsteps, their rhythm and unity had so much force and power it caused the bridge to collapse. When a people come together in cadence, in unison, we are a most powerful force. There is power in unity. When we are unified, we can defeat any enemy and attain great victories.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Thanks. Hi, welcome.
Good evening, City Commission, Mayor Bliss. Sometimes less is more, and I came with this great big long list of things, but I decided I'm going to limit it to this. And that is, it's not okay. It's not okay that a 10-year-old little girl is sitting in her living room where she believes she is safe in her home and is shot. It's not okay that a young man exhibits disrespect for law enforcement when being asked to stop after visibly seen hitting another person with a stick. It's not okay that day after day gunshots are being heard throughout the city, day and night, in our streets and in our parks. All this being said, what is really not okay is our leaders' failure to stand up and proudly support our Grand Rapids Police Department. I am so unbelievably shocked that a major press conference was held addressing the critical state of our city, and our mayor was not in attendance.
I was out of town.
When your city is at war, there is nothing more important. It's the lack of support for our officers and the lack of proper staffing that has brought us to where we are today. Park parties are fun, and communication is a great start, but for there to be true change, It has to start at the top. Only with more officers and full support will we be okay. Thank you.
Hi, I've never done this before. I'm so sorry, but I have to say this. Okay, 62 of them had poor grades and couldn't do anything. Okay, let's get back to 49507 with all the lead in there. I mean, hey, it's doing something to our brains, but nobody wants to do anything about that. If they would help with that, maybe it would help all of us to have a better education, to live a better life, to make a little bit of money when we look at the other side that's living really good, and we're over here living with lead. Nobody wants to help us. Oh, we can't think of anything right now. We've mulled it around. We'll get back to you. Oh, and the other thing, don't speak against the police. I love the police. I am under 5 feet. When I need help, it's 911. And I really don't like the way I was treated when I called for help. You know what? If we would get police officers who weren't brutally doing things that they should not be doing, you could keep your jobs. Everybody would be friends with each other. I don't understand why, and I don't understand why. When you see somebody doing something wrong, you look past that and you put them in this great big lump of good people. There are good people. I would be ashamed to be connected with somebody who is doing something wrong. And I don't hear that at all. It's just the department, where they did nothing wrong. Everybody, look what they did. Hey, if I had a boyfriend who knocked me this way and that way, I would not respect him. I would be trying to get away from him. I don't understand this at all. You see what's wrong, take care of what's wrong, and then things would be a little bit better. I don't understand why nobody stands up for what is right. I don't understand. If you get rid of some of this stuff that's clouding the Afro-Americans' brains, they might do better in school, and I know they would. The grandmother just came up here and talked about her children. Come on now. Is anybody concerned about that? That maybe that might have something to do with what's going on here? No. It's just, really? I gotta tell you something else I heard. I see my time clicking down. Okay, officers came out of Starbucks, PSD. Think about the person with PSD or had a problem. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Instead of the officer.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right, others wish to be heard?
Mayor and Commissioners, my name is Michael Farage. I live at 226 Ewell Southeast. I just wanted a moment of silence for Kaz. I'll never forget that day. It seems like just yesterday, and he was a great officer. And the rest of what I was going to say, Johnny and the voice of the badge actually took all of my talking points, except thank you. But I just want to kind of piggyback off what all of them said without repeating it. I support absolutely everything that they said. In close, the chances that the Parks millage will not be on the ballot are zero. We all know that. The chances Mike Farage will not be fighting the Parks millage are zero. We know that. Just put it on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, we are ending public comment tonight, and I'm turning to my colleagues. And no, Mr. Miller, you're done. I just read this. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Enough. No, I'm turning to my colleagues. I'll start down here with Commissioner Moody.
Yeah, first of all, let me thank everybody for coming out. I think all of your statements and comments have been heard.
But once again, I want to reiterate something. We are not against the police department. We are for the police department. We're also for the community as well. Yes, we do have a lot of issues, and yes, there are some things that need to be done in our city. And I think with everybody here, we're working on those issues and we're trying to resolve those issues. And that's a city issue. We are one city, one group of people. Two things I want to make a comment with, and then I'm going to close my mouth. Our city is not at war. It's not at war with itself, and it's not at war with its community. Two, the community leaders, especially pastors and ministers and leaders in this city, have worked with the police department in the past. I don't know who may be making statements about the police department in terms of pastors, but we have a great pastoral group that has been working with the unions in this city, the police union, and officers and abroad. Three, I believe that our city is doing some great things, and we need to look at what's happening that is good instead of focusing so much on the negative. The negative stuff needs to get done, and we have people working on that, but let's work on our positive side of Grand Rapids. Yes, we do have some parents and have some adult children out there that might be out of control. And yes, there's a miseducation around the community that affects all of our children, white, black, Hispanic, and other ethnic groups as well. And we owe them a responsibility. Thank you for coming out, and I've heard you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Kelly?
Yeah, I want to thank everyone tonight as well for coming out. As usual, there are many good comments tonight and some disturbing. We certainly have gone through a weekend of upset, which makes it very difficult to talk about these things. I think we need some time to digest it. But I think, as Reverend Moody just stated, this is a time for us to come together and not divide. And this is what this commission has been working on. We have reached out to experts. We're not experts around the table. We have been looking at how we can solve thorny problems. We are in the midst of a hiring process. It all takes time. It's very frustrating, I know. But we care deeply about this community, and I know this community does as well about each other, or you wouldn't be here tonight. So thank you again for coming.
Thanks. Commissioner Lanier?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to thank everyone who came out and provided comments. I do want to specifically address the Healthy Homes, is it moms? Parents. For Healthy Homes. There is another group with moms, so sorry. We actually, well, I don't know if we really had a discussion about lead that was on the agenda this morning, but inadvertently we had a discussion about lead. So your visit tonight actually is quite timely. I'm sure my colleagues thought I called you guys to come down because a lot of what you were saying is a lot of what I said earlier today. And I'm so happy to hear you come down with passion to talk about the need for the city to take action. And so I don't know what our next move is, but I'm going to make the same request that I made this morning, that we do something because we have not. And I think the suggestion, one of my mentors, Commissioner White, who was a Third Ward commissioner, said to me when I became a commissioner, if you're in opposition of something, always have a solution. And that has stuck with me. So there's some free advice for those of you, from Commissioner White and all of his wisdom. And I like that you came down with the solution. And so thank you for sharing that. I think that's something that perhaps we could start talking about a little bit more frequently so that we can put some action behind our talk, as we've been discussing lead for quite some time with no action. So thank you for coming out, and thank you to everyone else that provided public comment.
Thanks. Commissioner?
Yeah. I guess two things. One is just in response to the forum about affordable housing on Thursday night. I apologize that I will not be able to be in attendance. I think I've been pretty vocal and consistent in my positions in support of affordable housing and my views on how I think it can best be addressed. I'm opening a new location for a business that's going to employ another 20 people. So that's about 65 plus people that I employ. And I think as we talk about affordable housing, one of the most important things is we continue to talk about it not only being a cost of affordable housing problem, but the fact that revenues need to rise for people to be able to afford things. And so, being there to support those 25 people that are going to be employed in that business is important to me, to make sure that they are successful in what they're going to do so that they can, live healthy, productive, happy lives and hopefully be able to afford a great place to live. And so I apologize I can't be there on Thursday night to do that, but I need to be there with those people because seeing them be successful is important to me. I just, there's a lot of talk and rhetoric on a bunch of positions around community and public safety and policing, and I just, I think we all want the same things. I think we all want to live in a safe community. We want to feel that, we're safe to live in our neighborhoods, to interact on our streets, to go out and celebrate the 4th of July safely. And, I don't think we're all that far apart most of the time. And, I do support police, and I do know that we have to continue a dialogue to improve community-police relations. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. We don't have to do one or the other. This is a conversation. And so there needs to be a lot less talking at each other and a lot more talking with each other.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Mayor. And I thank also all those who came out on this evening to speak and those who were present as well. Also want to let the Parents for Healthy Homes know that I heard you loud and clear, and appreciate the passion, and appreciate the visuals and the handouts as well. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
City Manager?
Thank you. A couple of things. There's, for those who are inquiring about small cell regulation, there's a meeting on July the 18th, 5:30 to 7 p.m. That announcement should have gone out today. It's going to be at the Water Resource Recovery Facility at 1300 Market. We're going to be refining our administrative rules, and part of that will be discussing what we can do locally to improve the safety and health issues, as well as some of the other things that we can require in terms of installation based on our local ability to regulate, our limited local ability. Secondly, I also want to acknowledge and congratulate Ms. Suzanne Schultz on her announcement. She has decided to retire and begin another career. We wish her well. We appreciate the work that she's done for this community over her tenure, and certainly will be missed, but we have some time to say not goodbye, but to wish her well in her transition. And thirdly, I do want to echo what I've heard tonight from some of the commissioners about the call to address these things together. I was at that park gathering, and I did not hear one person be critical of the police department during that gathering. Matter of fact, what I heard was a call for accountability that day, and it was not at Joe Taylor Park, and it was not for officer accountability. The conversation was about accountability for people who are violating the law. And so I want to thank those community members who came to be supportive of our police department that day. Thank Chief Kittle for being part of that effort, and also the officers for their quick response to the various incidents on the 4th of July, and that was indication of how prepared we were in terms of our planning. I also want to let the community know that we are close. I'm close to getting to a decision on our police chief, but don't be fooled. The police chief by himself will not be able to solve every issue we have in this community. The police chief won't be able to do it by himself. The police officers won't be able to do it by themselves. It will take our entire community together, making sure that we are working towards the same thing. But I do want to thank everyone for their feedback, and I appreciate the commission's support as well.
Thanks. Well said, City Manager. And I will add one more thing, because the Parents for Healthy Homes are still here. The report from Mr. Jacobs was just provided a couple weeks ago, and it's very likely most of the commissioners around this table have not seen it because it went to the subcommittee. And so, commissioners, those of you may be unaware of what they were talking about when they were referring to that report. Please know that we will be sharing it. I haven't had a chance to talk to the city manager on the process for that yet. but know well, thank you, but I just want to assure you that we have them. We just haven't had a chance to come up with the process yet. So I've seen it. I know the Commissioner Repart and Commissioner Lanier, who serves on the Safe Kids Task Force with me, they've seen it as well, but the full commission hasn't yet. So typically it starts in the subcommittee and then it goes to the full body. So I just want to assure my colleagues that they'll get a copy of that. We'll have a conversation with the city manager on how to make sure that the full commission is briefed on the recommendations that came forward. I think many of them were strong recommendations. So thank you all for being here tonight and your partnership. And with that, we're adjourned.